So in the midst of World War One, you have the Russian Revolution. We're going to be talking about the impact of the Russian Revolution and a few different things in there. But basically, we're going to be talking about Lenin, the first Russian Revolution, the treaty that caused it, the revolution that they had within their country, what communism is, and then Karl Marx. So this goes on while World War One is occurring. So the leader of this movement, Vladimir Lenin, here is a lovely picture of him in 1917. He was really one of the people that spearheaded the Russian Revolution. So before we get into it, let's analyze this political cartoon. Here you see the Statue of Liberty leaning down and giving the leader of, or one of the leaders of the Russian Revolution, her torch, meaning that the U.S. really did support this in terms of, here, I'm going to help light your torch for your revolution, and you're going to, pass on liberty in Russia. So what is the Russian Revolution? Well, the Russian Revolution happens in February of 1917, and it starts because the people of Russia are basically starving to death. They're having very severe shortages of food, and people start to freak out, and they blame the person in power. At that time, it was the Tsar Nicholas II. So President Wilson actually supported Tsar Nicholas being gone from power. They supported this, and right after he is dethroned, or he gets kicked out of power, basically he and his family get killed, Wilson declares war on Germany and on the Central Powers. If you guys have seen the movie Anastasia, where you have the family gets killed, and Anastasia, the lost daughter, all that stuff, that's actually from this Russian Revolution, right in the beginning of that movie, where you see chaos and them killing the family. That was Tsar Nicholas. So Lenin, back to this guy, he led the Bolshevik Revolution, which is the communist revolution. So you had the Russian Revolution of Tsar Nicholas II being kicked out of power, and then you had the Bolshevik Revolution, which is what institutes or introduces Russia to communism. And this is when Russia becomes a communist nation. So Russia signs a lovely treaty with Germany and officially drops out of the war. So since Russia and Germany are no longer fighting on the Eastern Front, Germany can then just focus entirely on the Western Front, which is where, France were and most of the Allies were. So this works out in Germany's advantage, because now they're using less men and they're focusing all their troops in the West instead of the West and the East. So I just said the Bolshevik Revolution is what introduces communism to Russia. So what is communism? You guys have heard of this word before. A basic definition is that communism is a theory that supports the elimination of private property and the equal distribution of goods. So no one owns anything, everything belongs to the greater community, and it's supposed to promote equality. So there is no rich or poor, there's just one class. Ideally, that sounds like a great idea. Everyone's in the same playing field. Everybody has food. Everybody has a house. Everybody has clothing. But what happens is that you have the rise then of a dictator. And Karl Marx is the one that came up with this idea of communism. Communism basically supports the violent revolution of the working class. So the working class, the lower class, rising against the bourgeoisie, or the ruling class, the upper class. So it promotes this violence of the people from down under, from the lower class, coming up and taking those that have the power, the rich people. This then becomes the symbol of the USSR, the communist symbol, which is supposed to represent the working class. And it's led by a single party. It's led by one person that basically controls everything. And this person then takes advantage of that power and gives, the favors to the people that support him. But then everybody else kind of gets left on the wayside. And this is why communism doesn't work. When Lenin dies, this was, a poster of his death. People honor him and they think of him as a hero, especially for the working class, because, he promoted this idea of the working class rising up and taking control of their lives. So the Russian Revolution occurs during World War I, and you guys should be able to answer these 5 questions. Who is Lenin, and then what is his role with the Russian Revolution? What occurred during the Bolshevik Revolution, and why is that important to World War I? What is the importance of the treaty? And I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Who is Karl Marx? And then define and describe communism. If I were to ask you, what does communism represent? You guys should be able to answer that. So make sure you answer these questions, or you're able to answer these questions. Answer your blog, and I will see you guys tomorrow in class.